Ever wonder what the American colonies actually smelled like? Not the aroma of aged documents or gleaming hardwood in preserved historic sites, but the authentic, overwhelming reality of life in the 1600s and 1700s. Picture an era without antiperspirant, running water, or regular washing. A time when trash decomposed in public streets, nighttime waste containers sat beneath beds, and persistent body odor wasn't merely widespread, it was unavoidable. Set aside the pristine portraits of well-dressed founders or their inspiring declarations about freedom. The reality is that ordinary existence in colonial America was anything but refined. Beneath those lofty principles of independence, an uprising lay a society infested with parasites, illness, waste buckets, and dubious cleanliness habits. Danger didn't only come from gunfire and British soldiers. Sometimes your biggest threat was someone's halitosis or your own unwashed clothing. So what was it truly like inhabiting a society before modern toothpaste, bathroom tissue, or daily bathing became standard? Let's strip away the romanticism and explore the rough, filthy, and occasionally stomach-turning realities of colonial American life. Your perspective on historical landmarks may never be quite the same. Though the colonial period established the groundwork for a new country, it also created conditions rarely highlighted in educational materials. The American colonies stank. Beyond the celebrated ideals of self-governance and freshly penned documents lurked an overwhelming smell that contemporary sensibilities would find unbearable. Personal cleanliness as we practice it now, regular showering, fresh breath products, odor protection, and hand sanitizers, was virtually unknown. Water itself was frequently considered dangerous, leading many settlers to skip complete body washing for extended periods, sometimes months. Their alternatives included brief washings, fragrances, or simply accepting their condition. The outcome communities stewing in their own natural scents. Yet cleanliness extended beyond health concerns or social courtesy. It connected deeply to faith, economic status, and moral character. Being physically clean signified godliness. Many considered visible filthiness evidence of spiritual corruption. The Puritans, particularly, regarded self-control, including basic washing, as proof of righteousness. Meanwhile, impoverished people, who couldn't access clean water or fresh clothing, faced accusations of indolence or immorality, perpetuating class distinctions that literally reeked of condemnation. Dwellings and public areas added to the colonial odor problem. Livestock roamed unrestricted through numerous settlements. Outdoor toilets spilled over, and waste management was primitive at best. The atmosphere became a rank mixture of smoke, perspiration, animal waste, and rot. And there were the omnipresent parasites, lice, fleas, and bedbugs that transformed basic hygiene into an endless struggle. So whenever you envision a wigged statesman composing America's founding documents, keep in mind he likely hadn't washed in weeks and definitely smelled more barnyard than brilliant. Life in the colonies wasn't merely foul-smelling, it was crawling with pests. Decades before insect repellent or protective screening existed, early Americans endured nightly invasions of creatures that transformed rest into combat. Bites, stings, and swarms were woven into the daily experience of colonial existence. Captain John Smith, among Jamestown's first commanders and record-keepers, may be famous for his courage and negotiations, but his writings reveal a more pest-plagued reality. Between navigating waterways and fighting starvation, Smith documented endless harassment by mosquitoes, assault by fly swarms, and annoyance from the notorious kackaroo, a cockroach-like creature that invaded food supplies, sleeping areas, and garments. Settlers might have sought liberty, but they awoke to insect bites. Not even America's most prominent figures escaped these tiny invaders. In 1748, a youthful George Washington journeyed westward to map territory in the Shenandoah Valley. One especially miserable evening in a primitive log structure proved so unbearable that even his legendary composure failed him. His bedding, he recorded, teemed with lice and fleas. The infestation proved so intolerable that Washington opted to rest outdoors near a fire instead of inside the structure, preferring the frigid wilderness to a night surrounded by crawling parasites. Frontier missionaries fared no better in their attempts to spread their faith. George Henry Loskiel, working with the Moravians, recounted the torture from minuscule, biting insects nicknamed living ashes. Their attacks stung so severely that sufferers compared them to contact with scorching metal. This wasn't an exaggeration. These microscopic tormentors, probably combinations of tiny flies, sand fleas, and gnats, appeared in such numbers and with such persistence that they could push people toward insanity. Bedbugs, lice, fleas, mosquitoes, and ticks, the colonies harbored them all. Without chemical treatments, limited clothing changes, and hay-stuffed mattresses that served more as luxury hotels for insects than comfort for humans, settlers adapted to constant itching. Rest wasn't tranquil, it was warfare. So while historical accounts praise those who populated the new territory, remember this nightly. These brave souls waged a quiet, exhausting battle, and typically the insects emerged victorious. Dismiss thoughts of romantic bubble baths or hot showers. Such comforts belong to our time. In colonial America, complete body immersion was nearly unheard of and frequently regarded with distrust. Indeed, if you underwent full body washing as an adult, you were probably either ill or deceased. Infants sometimes received baths, though not for sanitation purposes. Newborns were submerged more for strengthening than cleaning, as frigid water supposedly built character. But once childhood passed, regular bathing vanished. Literally, most settlers didn't bathe. They performed spot cleaning, and even that was minimal, splashing water on the face and hands, using a bowl represented typical daily maintenance. Complete water immersion was uncommon and occasionally dreaded. Many thought frequent bathing, particularly with heated water, could compromise health, leave pores vulnerable to sickness, or encourage sinful behavior. Excessive cleanliness was sometimes deemed hazardous. Wealthy families might bring a portable wooden basin into their living spaces or bedrooms for more thorough sponge cleaning. Yet even then, the same water served multiple household members, typically beginning with the patriarch and finishing with the smallest child. Soap, when available, was coarse and self-made, resembling caustic lye paste more than anything you'd voluntarily apply. For typical farmers or workers, a brief plunge into a creek or river during warm weather represented the nearest thing to bathing, and even that aimed more at cooling down than getting clean. Winter meant months without even that option. By February, entire families might reek of smoke, sweat, grime, and aged wool. Simply put, the concept of smelling pleasant would have seemed absurd to colonists. Scented powders, herbs, and strategically placed handkerchiefs offered the best hope for masking natural odors. And if you've wondered why everyone wore multiple layers in historical portraits, it wasn't purely stylistic. It created social distance between bodies and their smell. So next time you step into your warm shower, appreciate it. In colonial America, cleanliness existed more as an aspiration than an actual practice. Regarding personal appearance, colonial women encountered contradictory expectations. Society demanded they maintain tidy, conservative looks using methods that were either primitive or potentially deadly. Hair removal as practiced today wasn't routine for women in 17th and 18th century America, not because they were indifferent. Modest clothing handled most concerns. With extended sleeves, floor-length dresses, high necklines, and head coverings, minimal skin showed publicly. Body hair on women's legs, arms, or underarms wasn't problematic simply because it remained hidden. Unseen meant ungroomed. However, colonial women didn't entirely ignore body hair. Privately, or in affluent homes with stricter appearance standards, women employed alternatives: manual removal or homemade hair, dissolving pastes. These weren't gentle modern waxing methods. Formulas might contain quicklime, calcium oxide, vinegar, or even arsenic. Yes, toxic substances were sometimes applied directly to the skin to eliminate unwanted hair. Chemical burns were genuine risks. Smooth skin, sometimes. Chemical damage, common. Hair removal wasn't the sole dangerous practice. Eyebrow grooming often involved burning hairs with smoldering wicks or extracting them with improvised instruments. And forget modern shampoo. Many women applied herbal rinses or dusted their scalps with powder to soak up grace and odor. Hair washing occurred rarely, and elaborate updos frequently became lice habitats. Wealthier women might even wear nightcaps to preserve their powdered wigs or hairpieces between weekly stylings. More intricate hairstyles meant greater effort in avoiding bug infestations. Colonial era grooming wasn't about pampering or wellness. It concerned survival, social position, and avoiding accidental fires while attempting to look presentable. Though beauty expectations certainly existed, meeting them demanded tolerance for discomfort, acceptance of dangerous ingredients, and hope that side effects would go unnoticed. Dental treatment in colonial America wasn't merely uncomfortable. It was genuinely horrific. Tooth pain was so prevalent that it seemed almost universal, and remedies ranged from barely helpful to downright brutal. When agony began, most settlers initially tried traditional cures, herbal compresses using cloves, mint or mashed garlic, or rinsing with potent alcohol, hoping to deaden the pain. Whiskey served purposes beyond recreation. It functioned as pain relief. When suffering became unbearable, which happened frequently, removal became the sole solution. Here's the disturbing part: trained dentists were scarce. More commonly, your tooth extraction would be performed by someone with equipment but lacking credentials. Perhaps the town barber, metal worker, or even a neighbor with firm hands and corroded extraction tools. No numbing agents, no sterilization, just determination and agonized cries. With sufficient funds, you might obtain replacement teeth. But 18th century dentures bore little resemblance to today's comfortable porcelain versions. They were constructed from ivory, animal bones, or, prepare yourself, human teeth, frequently bought from impoverished people or harvested from battlefield corpses. Waterloo teeth became an actual commodity following European conflicts. Even George Washington, America's patriotic symbol, endured this suffering. Despite the wooden teeth legend, his dentures combined carved ivory, gold wiring, and genuine human and animal teeth. They fit awkwardly, created continuous discomfort, and gradually pushed his lips forward, permanently changing his facial appearance. The nation's founding father, undoubtedly. A victim of dental suffering, absolutely.